There we go.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll just make sure we're recording. And then what I do is I take the recording link, I just put it on a unlisted YouTube page and then share it with people. And then within 24 hours, I take it down. So they've got to watch it. Otherwise, it's gone forever and they're not getting that info back again. It's kind of like, a little bit of marketer in me gives you a little urgency. But the other thing that I plan to do is I put this feeler out on about 4 different Facebook groups to people that I know need some help. But I know that they also use Jane. So there's like an Illinois chiropractic forum and all that stuff. And so I put out an invitation and so people will also get the replay link and I'll be pushing them towards, booking a call with you guys to learn more about Jane. So that's the goal. That's kind of my big vision for these kind of quarterly check-in calls. So Josh, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for hopping on. Without further ado, like I'll just let you guys take it. Lauren and Chris, glad you guys are here. I love these check-in calls with you guys. It gives me just like a refresher on what the app is, the service is capable of, because sometimes we just get caught in using the services and the features that we feel comfortable with. And sometimes reporting features can be daunting. I don't know what I need to look at. But as a coach, when I'm talking to people like Josh, it's like, well, what do your numbers say? What do your reports say? That's how we make better decisions for our business. So if we don't know enough detail or at least the data behind our businesses, it's really tough to make good decisions. So the reports are a big component to our coaching. And I've kind of grown tired of creating my own reports. It's nice when a system like basically builds and generates a full use of the data on the system. So I thought I would just let you guys take it from here as like my little 2-minute intro to the Jane reporting features. So I'll let you take it away, Chris.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. I'm right with you there. I think reports they help tell our story about what's going on and make those decisions a whole lot easier. So that's kind of the perspective that I have as well. Awesome. So I'll just do a quick. Oh, and is it possible to? It looks like sharing isn't.
I just gave you permission. Yep, there you go.
Thank you so much. Okay. So you've seen my face already, so this might be less exciting. My name is Chris, and yeah, our topic today is all about reporting tools in Jane. I'm excited to dive into reporting and hopefully show you something new, maybe something valuable, and maybe even something exciting. I know that's a stretch, reports and exciting, but we'll see how we do today. And a little bit of a background on myself. I've been with Jane for a year and a half, and I'm a product specialist. And I've been working in the technology space, I think, pretty much my whole career. And for 10 years, I actually helped retailers implement software and delivered specialized retail reports. And I really saw from that how data and reading data and understanding what it's telling us can help with making those great decisions. I also have a great appreciation for chiropractic care. My chiropractic helped me during my retirement from moving. And I'm not sure if you've met a lot of those folks that have retired from moving, but I'm one of them, and or snow shoveling for us up here in the north. So yeah, now please feel free at any point to ask any questions that you have, and we'll take time to jump into those. Just depends on, I guess, how many folks are able to join us here as well. And Lauren, I'm not sure if there's anything that you wanted to add as well.
Yeah, just that if anyone does jump on and they want to ask questions in the chat, I'm happy to respond there, or you can, if you want to unmute yourself, you can ask verbally as well.
Awesome. So I always like to get to know folks a little bit. So before we jump into the reporting side of things, I'm wondering if you could let me know in the chat or just unmute yourself what you're really feeling excited about for summer, or how you're feeling about summer. Are you excited? Are you just feeling hot? Are you ready for a vacation, ready to go camping, to head to the beach? If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit.
I'll go first because I just can't help but just chomp at the bit to explain. But I'm just ready for like sun in the summer. Like I enjoy just like the relaxation, but I also enjoy seeing like, I enjoy like working in the yard. So like I'll also enjoy like Josh and I were talking about this. Like there's just something about nice crisp lines in the lawn. And when the grass is dead, it's like not very fulfilling. But then in the summertime when it rains and it gets hot, I enjoy, spending a couple hours on our property mowing. That's what I look forward to, is mowing the lawn, working outside and getting sweaty. But also, spending some family time and swimming as much as we can. But that's like the joys of summer right there. We don't have a pool yet, but I'd love to get a pool. And but those are really quality time. I've got 5 kids, Chris, and so anytime I can go on hikes and bike rides with our kids out in the sun. And we live in Southeast Tennessee, so it's not like we're in Canada where you have to dodge the snow and the harsh weather 4 months out of the year, maybe 5 months out of the year. But Josh is in Wisconsin, so he's kind of close to you, but closer to you than me. But that's kind of what I look forward to in the summer. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, along those same lines, like I love when everything is so lush and green, and we have the seasons up here, so summer is just fun to kind of see that transition. When um my family grew up on a farm about an hour away from here, so like if I'm going out there with my family to go recreate and whatnot, like the drive is always different depending on the time of year. And so this time of year it's all full and you can't see into the woods and lush and green, and then in the fall super colorful, and then in the winter it's just like you can see through and everything. So seeing the changes in the season is nice up here in the Midwest. But yeah, I like to get outside and take care of my yard and just be outdoors with my kids and hook up the hose to the sprinkler and watch them run around in the backyard and have fun. So that's what I like about summer. I like to golf too, and so this is the season for that. So um, try and get out when I can, but with 4 kids, it's kind of busy.
I guess when they reach a certain age, you can get them to be your caddy potentially, but might be tougher in the moment. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on the getting outside. I just love this time of year. Getting out so sometimes lakes are frozen and we can snowshoe on them, and other times we can kayak on them. So I love getting out and kayaking this time of year as well. Enjoying that sunshine and just the air. It's great. Awesome. So I'll jump in here to reporting tools. So really, I see reporting tools and the reporting tools in Jane help us tell that data-driven story. So sometimes it tells us where our practice is trending. Sometimes it tells us where our revenue is coming from. Sometimes it's a short story with our dashboards, and it can show us quick pictures of information. And sometimes it's a bedtime story or those day end reports that we'll run that helps us reconcile things. Sometimes it's a complex story that can cross-reference a couple different reports and tell us a bigger tale about how our clinic is doing as well. So I just wanted to jump into a quick agenda and what I wanted to cover today. So I wanted to have a look at our dashboards that give us that quick summary of information from a staff member perspective, from an overall clinic perspective, and even from a patient perspective. Although it's not technically a dashboard, there's a tool that can be really, really helpful there. And then dig into the reports side of things and how we can use report filters to get very specific information, how we can export those reports to sometimes build reports sort differently and to look at that information at a different angle. I want to share a couple tips and tricks that I found really helpful, and then dig in even further to reports that are going to help us tell the story of cash flow trends and finances. And then, of course, at any point, if you do have questions, please share that. But I do want to give some time for questions and feedback, and maybe even additional time for a couple bonus reports as well. So we'll start with dashboards, and I'll just do a quick summary here, and then we're going to jump into the demo clinic and look at these in real life. So I'd like to look at the practitioner dashboard that gives us very specific metrics around each practitioner with different timeframes available, as well as the settings dashboard. It's more related to kind of the overall clinic, although we do have some filtering capable there, as well as the patient profile bar, or kind of a dashboard that can give us some information, just quick numbers about each of our patients. And then in the report section, in addition to looking at some of that filtering and other tips and tricks, I want to have a look at some of the daily reports that we might want to run each day. Clinic reports that can give us an idea around trends and appointments, and new versus existing patients, and then finish with financial reports, and hopefully finish with how we might be able to build a trend report as well using those existing reports. So I'm just going to try and toggle over here if it's going to agree with me. There we go. So this is our demo clinic. Now, something that's always available to you, if you wanted to test things out, I always encourage folks, if you click up top in the Need Help button right here, this is available if you wanted to test things out. Now, from a reporting perspective, your data is probably going to be the most interesting thing, but just an encouragement that that's available. The other big thing that's available here is our phone number. Now, we do have a chat feature and an email feature, but as you're digging into reports, sometimes you might not have looked at a report in a while. Our team is always happy to jump in and assist wherever we can. So I wanted to start in the settings area. And you might say, well, that's kind of a strange place to start when it comes to reports. And this is because we have some settings in this area that can be really helpful as we're looking at reports. Now, one thing that's really common with every report and every dashboard is the ability to do a little bit of filtering. So if we have more than one location, we can filter there, or for a specific staff member, we can filter there, but also a different time frame. And so we could say, well, just show me this month or last month, or we can use our arrows and do year to date, even if we want to. I won't do that because our demo clinic has limited data, but that is something that's really common that can give us the exact information that we're looking for. Now, in this particular area, the dashboard is more concerned with bookings. How many have been arrived versus canceled versus no-show? And this can really help tell the tale of, you know, if we've added in an additional cancellation policy, or we've addressed that, is that having the right effect? Or perhaps is that something that I might want to look at? It also can give us a comparison of, you know, this month versus last month as well. So kind of that trend side of things. We also can have a bit of a dashboard that shows us how appointments have been booked. And so were they booked online or were they booked by staff? And could this be tell us a little bit of a story about potentially encouraging those patients to look at booking online if they're open to it? And then not everyone is open to that, but sometimes that can reduce our administrative costs, but also give that empowerment to our patients as well. And then a final one that can be really helpful is returning patients versus new patients. And so, you know, if we're just getting started, our numbers are probably going to be quite high when it comes to new patients versus returning patients. There's some additional resources that can get connected with this metric as well, but sometimes that can be really helpful to get a view of. So from here, and this is the reason that we came to this section, we can go on down. And I'm looking for my dashboard permissions. My mouse is right on top of it, so that's why it's hard to find. So within settings on this left-hand menu, if I go to my dashboard permissions, this allows me to go through and to actually add in the ability for my practitioners to see a dashboard, or for myself. And this can be really helpful. We have seen it be a bit of a motivator to for someone to be able to see both the financial metrics as well as some of the other numbers. That gives us that really quick view of things that we might want to action, or things that perhaps you know, we want to look at each day. So that can be really helpful to set those. And again, we can disable them for certain practitioners. Anyone that's administrative, it's not available for them. And then while we're here, I want to stop at income categories. And sometimes I stand on a box because I believe strongly in income categories. Everything within Jane has, so packages, sessions, even products, if we sell them, all have an income category connected with them. And so having a little finer level of detail can really help us when we look at the reports area. And we'll see this in the reports section to see that specific revenue generation area. So, you know, I think we start with product income and treatment income as defaults. But if we wanted to get a little more granular, let's say we wanted to know specifically, what about motor vehicle accident treatment income? We could create that category and then just go back to that particular session and attach the category to the session. And then when we go to the reports, it's going to show us that information. So this can be a really great way to get a finer level of categorization of and understand where that revenue is coming from specifically. So from here, what I'd love to do is I'm going to just jump on over to the staff area. So within staff, this is where we can see that practitioner dashboard. And so if we go to any of the staff, you'll notice that there's a view day sheet dashboard. So as the account owner, you could look at any other practitioner's dashboard, and that's kind of specific to the account owner. So not everyone has that capability. And so let's say I wanted to look at Marcus. I could view the day sheet and dashboard. Now it'll show me the day sheet, but also this great information here. And we can, at the very top again, filter by specific date ranges. So we could say, well, show me the last 7 days, 30, even the last quarter. And so now I only have 30 days of history in my demo clinic, but this can really change and show us the picture. So I can see my total number of patients, the visits that those patients have had, utilization. And that's really a comparison of how much am I scheduled versus how much am I booked on my schedule. I can also see the total amount billed versus the total amount collected. And sometimes if those numbers are quite vastly different, that allows us to go and have a look at our accounts receivable report. Some other really great metrics down below here. And this can be helpful to check, if you have someone that's new, potentially, we've got some charts that are not yet created for those sessions that have happened. I can see my top treatments, so I can see a bit of a mix that way. I can also see the average visits per patient. Do I have folks that are coming back for ongoing treatment, which we always want, as well as do I have new patients that are coming in? And in some cases, we might not have a lot of new patients just because we have a full schedule already. And then we have just a quick view here of our top patients, our top 10, a little bit of a David Letterman list, I guess. And then in the very bottom corner, I think this can be a really helpful tool. And so this is an option to have turned on, but you can ask for a review. And that's another setting that can be present. And we'll look at this report in a little more depth, but we can see overall, how are folks feeling about the service that they're receiving? And with this, even we can get some commentary. So that's a really another quick, great piece of information. From here, just want to do a quick little view here of the patients section. So with patients, this isn't necessarily a dashboard, so we don't really have graphs here, but it can give me a really quick picture of each patient. So as I'm going through and doing charting, I should be able to see this bar, which will tell me, well, how many bookings do they have? How many upcoming appointments? Now, in the demo clinic, we always have a lot of upcoming appointments, but that's always the hope. We have that ongoing treatment. Do we have someone with a lot of no-shows or a vast difference in when they visited? And then also anything financial, credits that they have on file, anything that's outstanding. The nice thing here is if we click on this board towards the end, we can action these. So I could actually say, oh, I'd like to receive payment for that. Or if we are using J Payments, we do have the ability to send a reminder email to say, oh, we have this outstanding amount. Now, because we're in the billing area, I'd love to just jump into the billing section. And this isn't technically a report, it's more of a patient report that we would have, but we do have the ability to create a statement. And so sometimes that can come, depending on the circumstance, tax season can be a common one. And so we do have the ability to create a statement for them. But at the same time, we can see their total number of visits with us. So by default, it's going to show us everything here. And so I can see, well, we've invoiced them $692 and they've paid this amount and this is the balance. But that can give us just a really quick picture of that total value of their visits with us. And then we can further go and just filter at the top to say, well, I just want, from the 1st of January to December 31st or what have you. So from here, we can email that as well as if we wanted to PDF and send it in a separate way, that's possible as well. So that's just a quick view of our dashboards and kind of dashboards. I don't know, any questions on those reporting tools so far?
No, the only thing I wanted to add. Okay, go
ahead,
Josh.
Alex.
No, Josh, you go, man.
So for the report, so like if I wanted to see what the collections were for year to date, or say maybe last year, I wanted to pull up the report. Is that data immediately available, or is there like a 24-hour wait period for that, like say years worth of data before I get that report?
Immediately available. Yeah, and that's actually you're a great foreshadower, because that's where we're going to go is look at the accounts receivable report right away here in the report section. So yeah, it's
Okay.
definitely, it's immediately available. As soon as there's a visit and an amount owing, that would be added to that report for sure.
What I was going to say was if you're an owner and you have an associate and they're incentivized with maybe performance-based pay, and when you can see the breakdown of their utilization, right? In our associate contract, we have a certain percentage utilization. It is so convenient to just see it right there. And I like the way that you said it very briefly and succinctly, Chris, where it's like your utilization is the number of visits that are capable versus the number of visits that are actually booked. And that is inside of the performance-based pay metric. It's pretty cut and dry. Like you need to be at a certain number in order to receive the bonus pay. And so it's really cumbersome to try to do the mental math yourself in an Excel or a Google Sheets page. So this is just, it saves you on countless amounts of time, countless hours a month trying to calculate that stuff. So I like that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and the nice thing is with all of these reports, it's all pulling from the same data. So if it's a dashboard, it just presents it a little differently, but we do have specific reports if we want to get right down to the numbers in this area as well. And so that's just, yeah, that's the reports area. And we'll maybe I'll just show you this report because we're talking about it now. The hours scheduled booked report can be a really helpful one. And so this does give the total, exactly as it's stated. There's no hiding what it presents. So how many hours am I scheduled versus how many hours am I booked, and then our percent of bookings. But also it gives us a number of total bookings. And I'd like to show you towards the end how we can create a trend report, so we can see, well, what's my total number of visits perhaps this week or this month versus last month or last year. So, we can build a report from that as well. But yeah, a lot of these, you can get a little bit more in depth with those reports. Okay. So if it's all right, because we talked about the accounts receivable, I'm going to just jump into that section. And so I've just gone to the reports area here. And the reports are grouped in kind of three, I guess maybe four main categories now. So we do have patient-specific reports. We do have a care / it's about treatment plan report, an appointments report, as well as a lot of billing reports here. So we'll maybe just jump into the daily reports, and let's just look at my accounts receivable. So I wanted to show just a couple quick tips about each of the reports, and this will be similar with most every report. Now we do have the ability within the reports. You'll see that there's this blue font, and that's the same with Anywhere in Jane. And so that blue font allows me to click and go directly to that person's profile. So that can be a really helpful tool to be able to quickly investigate that value. Now, you notice that I had to click back and forth, and this is just a little tip that I really like. If you're on a Mac, if you hit the Command key and then click, or if you're on a PC, if you hit the Control key and then click, that will just open up an additional window. So that allows me to say, okay, I want to investigate Audrey's account owing. So I can go and do that. I could send a pay balance request, anything I need to, and then I can close that and come right back to that report. So I find that can sometimes be really a helpful tool. So that's Command and click on a Mac, or Control and click if you're on a PC. Likewise, sometimes my eyes get blurry when I'm looking at the screen for a long time, especially with reports and there's a lot of data. One thing that can be helpful, again, with the same two key presses, if I hit Control F if I'm on a PC or Command F if I'm on a Mac, I can go and I can search for a specific thing on that report. So let's say I wanted to look for, I know Pamela's on here somewhere. I can do that search and it'll jump me right down to that section. So sometimes that can be really helpful just to quickly find that information. Now, one thing that's common throughout the reports area is our filters. Now, the filter can look a little different depending on the report it is, but this allows me to get very specific details. So I might want to say, well, I just want to see what my accounts receivable is. I could go back and I can pick a date and time to say, well, as of December 31st, this is what my accounts receivable was. And it will go back and it will give us a list of those accounts. Now, of course, that's probably changed since then. And again, with my demo clinic, yeah, it's not, I don't have a ton of data, so that's why there's nothing showing there, but I do have a way to pick that moment in time for my accounts receivable. Now, one other thing that's really helpful with reports is the three little dots on the far right side. If I click the three little dots, that allows me to export a report to Excel, export it to CSV, which is basically the same thing. Now, if you don't have Excel, I'm a big fan of Google Sheets, or if you have a Mac, you can use Numbers. So any spreadsheet software will be able to open that. It's kind of common these days. We could also print that out. Let's say it's for an accountant. We have the ability to print right from there as well. So those are just kind of navigationally the way that we can work through the reports. Now, what I'd like to do, I'm going to just show you one other quick report here because I think this is super helpful. It's one other link. Now, there's only a couple reports where this does not exist. And so there's the learn more about this report. I think this is great, and I think we're going to supply a bit of a follow-up with some resources. And some of the resources I'm presenting, you might say, well, I don't need those anymore. All I do is click right on that link. If I click on the link, it's going to open up the help file specific to that report. And so I can read through and learn all about it. Of course, you can always give us a call, but I think that can be really helpful because sometimes I don't look at a report for a really long time and I have to remember, okay, what's being presented here. So that can be another really helpful tool. So what I'd like to do is look at some other daily reports that can be really helpful. And I think the accounts receivable report is one of those that can be helpful because I can look, asking for money can sometimes be helpful if it's an interaction that's been more recent. So if we wait a month, 2 months, it can sometimes be a little bit harder, that conversation and the results from that. So the accounts receivable can really tell us, okay, for today, what's owing. But I think really closely tied with that, and it might be even a little bit easier, would be the sales by staff member. And in this section, so we have the filters up at the top here, but what I think is really helpful is for my invoice date, I can just say what's unpaid and what's unpaid perhaps for today only. So I can use those filters to narrow down that information. And then, if we're doing that at the end of each day, then we can say, oh, you know what? They did actually pay that. I need to mark that as paid. Or, oops, I forgot to process that credit card. So taking that action, this report can be helpful that way as well. Of course, there's lots of other filters towards the top here. So that's, just depending on what's important in the moment, we can utilize those. Now, I did mention, let's say that I go and I have a look here and I'm going to use that command click. I'm going to go and I'm going to work on that particular invoice and pay it off. The report will not necessarily update right away. So sometimes we may want to use this load a fresh copy right at the top of the report. So if you're doing a bunch of work, sometimes just periodically loading that fresh copy will just make sure that you've got the right information being presented there as well. Okay, so another daily report that I think can be really, really helpful is the transaction report. And that's just, it's the biggest thing is reconciliation. So I can see, okay, I have this much cash. That's what's presented in Jane. I have this much in check, or all those different payment methods. So we can look through and compare and do that reconciliation using this report. And sometimes, we might say, oh, you know what? That cash amount is way off. That's not correct. So the great thing is we have a fine level of detail just below here to show all those cash transactions. Because sometimes if we click the wrong button, it might say, oh, I paid in cash when that was actually a card or another payment method. And because we have that ability to click on the link, we can go in there and we can click on the link and quickly change that and update the report and get everything corrected and so that it all reconciles. Now, one other report that I think can be really helpful, or set of reports, I'm not sure if anyone uses Jane Payments, but if you are using Jane Payments, I highly recommend checking out the Jane Payment Transaction Report and the Jane Payment Payout Report. And I think the monthly processing is something that's coming soon. That's a newer one. But this allows us to see all of our transactions. With the payout report, we can see the payouts that will be happening and the ones that have happened. So that allows for that further reconciliation as well. So those ones can be a really, really helpful tool in combination with Jane Payments. And one other report that I think can be helpful, whether it would be daily or perhaps every other day, I think the unscheduled patients report, this can be really helpful to see, do we have folks that need to see us and we need to reach out to remind them to come and see us? So with the unscheduled patients report, I'm going to just reset this top filter. And that's another little feature. If we click reset, it's just going to remove everything so I can start from scratch. Sometimes if you have a report and you're saying, oh, it just doesn't feel right, the results that it's giving me, doing that reset can start you from scratch, and then you can kind of re-add in. Sometimes for myself anyways, I'll look right past a filter that's set and I didn't want it to be. But so the unscheduled patients report, I think this can be really helpful in using the days since last visit. Now there is a date range. If you use both of these, it will not net you the best results. So I think the days since last visit can be the most helpful. So we can say, well, who has not been here in 3 weeks or in a month or whatever time frame? So I can say, well, just show me those individuals. And then I have the ability, if I do have this added to my account, I can click right on. And then I can say, let's add a return visit reminder for them. We haven't seen them in a little while. And so we could add that reminder if they haven't booked. And I could say, well, let's just send that within a day. And I have the ability to add in a little bit of a message here and actually take action right from the report to let folks know, hey, we would love to see you. Because that ongoing care is so important. I can attest to that for sure. If you need a testimonial, hit me up. I'll give you a video to say how important that is, because you don't want to wait for your adjustments for sure. How's everyone feeling so far? Hopefully that's some helpful information. Okay. And any other questions of what we've gone through so far, or is that feeling pretty good? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So what I'd like to look at now is what I would call clinic reports. And this can tell us things about those visits and ratings and reviews and trends that show from an appointment perspective. And so we're going to go up towards the top here in the appointment section. And I'd love to have a look a little bit further at the ratings and reviews side of things. I think this can be helpful. Now, it does require a little bit of setup in the settings area, but and we're happy to assist with that side of things. But we can request that someone gives us a review ever so often, or we could say just after their first visit. So there's a couple different filters that we can use that way. But this can tell us how our patients are feeling about us. And sometimes, they might just give us 1 star, not share a whole lot, but then at least it gives us something that can be actionable. But in other cases, we might say, well, I just want to see for this time frame. I've heard a couple things, so let's just run it for that time frame, and I want to see anything that's 1 star. And so we can see what's a 1 star for each staff member, and I can actually click on a specific staff member, and then I'll be able to see any comments that have been added. So we can see, oh, wait time was too long. Okay, maybe that's something that we might want to have a look at. Perhaps I can look through here and, I see, well, maybe some more information that's not actionable, but this will allow us to at least have a look and say, what's going on, or what's the perception, or how are folks feeling? And sometimes we can, that will tell us a little further story and we can take action on that. So this one can be a really helpful tool, and it will give us averages and everything. But sometimes those comments can be really something that can allow us to take action and make changes that make things better for our patients and for how busy we are as well. Another report, a next door neighbor to this, is our patient retention report, and sometimes those can be closely tied together. The patient retention report, this can show us overall by clinic. How many new patients do we have within this time frame? And so we can select the date range. What do we have for returning patients? What are my total number of patients overall? And then the percentage of returning patients within that time frame. And we can also have that for each staff member. So overall for the clinic, but for an individual staff member as well. And sometimes that can be helpful and allow us to see, oh, I want to dig in a little further to that because that person's new. They should have a lot of new patients. One thing that can be helpful, and this is common in some reports, not all, is the detail checkbox. That detail checkbox allows us to show a little bit more information. And in this case, it would show us all of the different patients for each of the staff members to say, oh, this person visited twice, this person once. And so sometimes we can action that to say, maybe we need to talk with them just to see if they might be able to come in more often so they feel better overall. So that the patient retention report can be a helpful one. And I think we did look at this one, so I might not spend too much time on here, but the hours scheduled and booked. And so we can see, perhaps by our percent booked, if we do have capacity. Perhaps Dr. Fiona, 17% booked, but maybe, and that's where this gives us something to look at. Perhaps Fiona is a part-time, and so it just makes sense. But perhaps, there is something that we can do with scheduling, or with some of that feedback that we're receiving. Now, we do have some other reports that can be really helpful when it comes to trends. And so the referral report, and that's just up in the patient section near the top here. The referral report can show us those different sources, and this is, we can customize the referral sources as well. But when someone's signing up, they would give a source that they were referred by. And so we can see, well, is that, if you're doing a newspaper ad, or is that Facebook ad, is that marketing endeavor, is that working well? It gives us the total number of patients that came through that way. Now, someone might not select a referral source, so there would be some numbers there, but then we can see the revenue that comes with the number of patients that are coming as well, because perhaps we have a lot of referrals, a lot of patients, but the revenue wouldn't have as a high amount. So that's something with the referral report that can be really helpful as well. And then we can select a date range for that. So very similar to all the other reports. One that I think can be really, really helpful as well is my top patients. There it is, my top patients report. And this can show for a specific staff member or the clinic overall. We can see the number of bookings, the total